got a lot of names, and we may create our own tonight as we talk. Welcome to the show tonight. My name is Brian, host of Fort Wayne Footy, and we'll be navigating the show together. I'm going to just pass it around. We'll go top to bottom, left to right, and let you all introduce yourselves.
Yeah, so I'm Dustin Diller. I've been around Fort Wayne Footy since the beginning, since day one of our show. Just excited for tomorrow, excited for what this means for the entire state and just soccer in general, to be completely honest. So we've been looking forward to this for quite a few weeks. So excited to talk about it with all these guys tonight.
I am Carlos from One Touch. I like long walks on the beach and candlelit dinner.
I am Emrah. I'm from One Touch as well, and I am also excited for this match coming up. We've had it marked on our calendar for a long time, and we're just happy to be here. Thank you for having us here.
Say your name again. You had a little roll of the R in there. I like that.
Yes, Emrah.
Emrah. I love it.
Yeah. And then the H is pronounced as well. So there's a H at the end. Emrah.
Emrah. Like it. Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Welcome. We'll move on down to the bottom there.
It's me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Brett Monitz, kit season protagonist, beyond the 90, do a little bit of everything. I'm a hitman, master of none. And this has been circled way as soon as Fort Wayne got announced. I knew this day would happen at some point, so I'm happy it's finally happening.
Yep.
And I am Michael Betts. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Cue the Smoke podcast. I'm excited for this matchup as much as I was excited for Forward Madison last year.
Yeah, well, welcome. Good to have you all here tonight. There's names of the rivalry already showing up in the comments here. River City Ruckus would be one there. The Roo versus we don't really have anything. So.
Okay. That's shade. That's shade.
That might be a little shade. I don't know. As you guys think about this matchup, the derby names aside, like what's the one word or first word that comes to mind when you think about Fort Wayne and Indy playing in this first matchup?
Oh, good question.
One word? It has to be one word. It can't be
one word, one phrase.
Okay.
I don't know. Give me something.
I'm just going to say never thought it would happen. That's what I'm going to say.
All hyphenated. One word.
Yeah. One word hyphenated, the entire thing.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Carlos, you're thinking there, man.
I know. I'm trying to. Man.
Soccer supremacy, in my opinion.
Okay, soccer supremacy.
Old blood versus new, very different in many different ways. Which one will be better?
Okay, we'll get to that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Michael, you got anything?
The future, with the looming pro rail coming, maybe, possibly in the next couple of years, there's a possibility that we could see each other a lot more in the future.
Yeah, no doubt.
I got one.
Yep.
David and Goliath.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Like it. Who are you saying who's who? That's open to interpretation.
Exactly.
Emrah, you got one?
Yeah. Probably just infancy. Probably just it's just unproven. So it's like, we need to see it happen at least once, and then what will come of it, as the years go on.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm just going to say bad timing. And here's why. State Cup is happening for youth soccer in Indianapolis all weekend long. So all of our youth club teams are going to be in Indy. And I know y'all are getting ready for the 500 coming up in a couple weeks. So who's traveling from Indianapolis up here to this game when all of Fort Wayne soccer is traveling to Indianapolis?
Swapping places.
Who chose this weekend, and how poor of a choice was that? But I do think we'll get a lot of fans out there in that stadium, and it'll be a lot of fun. I do want to get into a little bit this rivalry, right? This match, I know for us in Fort Wayne means a lot because we've watched Indy 11. I remember the announcement of Indy 11. I've been to Indy 11 games in a couple different stadiums now. Seeing you guys grow, seeing some of my favorite players from Cincinnati when they were in the USL and they moved to MLS, like their whole roster came to Indy 11. And so I got to see them play there. And so I have a little bit of history with Indy 11, but I haven't been there consistently to see it. So for us in Fort Wayne, it was like, yeah, it's big brothers coming to town and like, we've got to prove ourselves because we've watched it from a distance for years. But why does this match mean so much and who does it matter most to?
I'll let you go first, Michael, on this one.
Oh, I get to go first. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I think it means a lot because, you know, through soccer supporters, you see a lot of like connections, right? So I know there's a couple of people who have started with the Indy 11, who have worked their way up to Fort Wayne FC or vice versa. And that's just how soccer sport goes, especially in this state where for the longest time it was one team, you know, and it was everyone funnels into one program, watches, supports, and all of a sudden you get someone who's closer to home. So I think there's a lot of love between the two teams, but there's also like this club did me wrong. I'm going to go to this club and see what I can do. And as far as who it matters to most, that's kind of a hard question because for me, in the back of my mind, it's like it kind of matters most to Fort Wayne, I would think, because it's okay. We just made the jump to League One. We're battling with the team that's been around and they're in the championship. We're going to see if we can hang with them. But on the other side of things, as an Indy 11 fan, it's like, okay, now we have to make sure that we stay Big Brother, right? You don't want to be like other programs in the state who were Big Brother for so long, then all of a sudden someone comes knocking at the door and they're gone, you know? So I think it's equally as important to both sides.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. I think it's a both, like it's just as important for both sides because one's just trying to say, yes, we've been here, we've, you know, done this. And then the other team's trying to come in and say, hey, watch out for us. And that's, I think, what the beauty is behind this rivalry.
I would go from my perspective. I don't think it's as much of a rivalry, in my opinion, until something bad happens, like something intense.
That's
happens.
true.
Yeah.
Look at Clamito. That was brand new. It could have just been two teams fighting back and forth, but then there was antics. There was something added to it, and I think when the supporters really rally behind it, that's when it becomes a rivalry. I think right now it's going to be a show of strength or a show of like what process is better or like what has a better trajectory. And I think it's a little bit more almost off the field as much as it is on the field. But until the fans really get into it, as much as I want it to be a rivalry, it won't be until I think there's almost more bad blood.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder, so on that note, Brett, I've been thinking about this too. And, you know, when, again, people knock me all the time for talking about Cincinnati, but I go to Cincinnati and Columbus rivalry. That's the hell is real derby, right? Cincinnati was in the USL and playing MLS team Columbus. And it was kind of the same thing. It was like Cincinnati's got nothing to lose. Columbus better win this game. And then the double doink from GB Fall, the double header to put it in the back of the net. And things like blew up, right? And that a rivalry was born. I feel like this one in Indiana, like we're all pretty nice people. And so we've been watching Indy 11 from a distance and going, oh, I like that team. I like that team. And it's like, it's hard to hate right now until something happens. So my question then is what has to happen? Like, is it something on field? Is it something like what has to happen for this game to really spark that sort of intense rivalry?
Slices of cheese, man.
Yeah, a lot of cards.
You're gonna have to be given a lot of slices of cheese out there.
A lot of tackles and a lot of
physicality.
Just physicality and probably a lot of close matches as well. Like if there's close matches, then you kind of know that both teams are on sort of equal footing, and it's not just one team is like head and shoulders above, and they're just kind of going through you know, the basics on the pitch. But when there's close matches, I think that's always going to be a rivalry.
And I will always say it's whenever the player, like, I think the biggest one here is away support. I know there's a decent contingent
Yeah.
in the 11 making the trip up, and I can almost guarantee when Fort Wayne comes to town, probably more than likely next year, based off whatever scheduling with the USL Cup, there's going to be a decent contingent. Whenever there is that away crowd, you tend to build up that atmosphere. I think of when Detroit City comes to Indianapolis, there's a little bit of either some camaraderie, but there's a little bit of like extra ruckus, especially when Lou City comes to town for us, our big rival on the other side of the river. I think when you have that, then you start to see players maybe even act towards the away, like the home fans or the away fans, because you have someone to antagonize besides the players. I think that adds to it.
I think it kind of like, and I'm not saying this is for everything, but like it could be inward out, right? Like it comes from the field and it extends out to the fans. So like if you see two players kind of face to face, then you get kind of pumped up, and then the fans get, all the fans are like, yeah, and then it just gets really rowdy after that,
Yeah. I'm excited because I'm sitting, half of my family, aka me and one of my children, are sitting with the supporters group, and then the other two are sitting right next to the supporters group. So I'm excited to see how that's going to play into it. Honestly, like that's a huge thing. But I think when it comes down to it, I mean, Fort Wayne is undefeated at the Roo.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to who does this mean more to, like, I think that's huge. Like we're coming now, again, this is a cup game. It's a little different than league play, but at the same time, like we're coming out of a undefeated week of games. And so it means a lot to continue that streak moving into league play after this. So I think it means more to Fort Wayne at this point in time, just because of that a little bit. And because they've hyped up this game so much to be played at home that people hopefully are coming out. And I hope they are. When I looked today at seats, there were not a ton of seats that were available. I'll just say that much.
Good.
And what shows up into like what that looks like, I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that it's a lot of people and it meets the expectations or comes close to. So, but I do think Fort Wayne has a lot riding on this, to be completely honest.
Yeah, for sure. And as you think about cup competitions, and I think one thing that maybe Fort Wayne fans don't get yet, unless they're fans of soccer in other places, right? They watch Major League Soccer, they watch Premier League Soccer, they watch Bundesliga. Like what in cup competitions, when you have roster rotation and like, why aren't our best players playing, or why are they playing in this position? Like, I wonder how much of that we'll see, and we'll get into that maybe later in the show. But do you think Indy will field their strongest team coming 100%. Up here, or do you think there's going to be? Yeah, you think so?
100%, no doubt, because that loss to Omaha sets them back. Coach McCulley was not happy that night when we lost to Omaha in the USL Cup, because now we're behind the 8 ball. We can't lose any of our next games. You're going to see the top players available every single week, like every single round.
Yeah,
there's no doubt Indy 11 has to win out to even get a sniff at it in that second place.
And I'm trying to think. I think last year, thanks to all these games being on Saturdays, I think we played a regular lineup, because it's not like you're worried about midweek games. It's just you're taking a week off from league play and going straight into cup play. So I think we're going to get a strong lineup. It's really going to be about how they come out and play, less as who comes out and plays, because you could have the top lineup or the A team, whatever you want to call it, come out and play horribly, and you could have guys who never see minutes come in and play. So to me, it's more of who's going to come out and who's actually going to want to play.
Yeah. Dustin, Emra, Carlos, as you think about Fort Wayne's lineup, what do you expect? And a lot of rotation in this one, or there's actually been a lot of rotation here recently. So who do you expect to see out there?
Yeah, I was going to say they've been rotating quite a bit, and so I would expect they're not coming out with non-starters. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna be on, like, that's not gonna happen. There's no freaking way that they do that. I don't see coach doing that. I don't see the players. I think we're gonna see a pretty typical lineup that we've seen. I don't think
Yes.
Tag comes out. I think he starts. I think
Mhm.
He's
our
the
goal
one.
scorer, Recall, those guys,
Yeah.
they've got to come. They've got to be there. I see where we may see some rotation is more at defense. Like, we had a little bit of a different lineup last game. And so does that change a little bit? Do we go back to what we had before? They played decent. They played really well. So I think that's really the only place we see that much of a change.
Yeah, and same thing for Fort Wayne. I mean, they're at a 1-loss deficit here, so they're going to also want to do the same thing that Indy's doing. They lost to Louisville, right? Now we also got to show up as Fort Wayne FC to get that victory, because they're both in the same place essentially.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
at this point, points are a premium, but specifically
Right.
in this format, those first round losses put you behind any 8-ball of any aspirations any club had.
And Louisville didn't advance last year, right? They only lost one game in the
Correct.
opening rounds, and so
They're-
you almost have to win out.
Yeah,
I believe that their group had a 3-way tie for first, and Loudon made it out, I believe.
Yes, it was
because
Loudon.
Points in games or something like that.
Yeah.
Goal difference, something. Yeah.
Something weird like that.
Yeah,
I
and
actually think that both teams losing their first game in the group stage actually helps to build kind of the rivalry aspect, right?
Yeah.
Because if this was a game where one team won and one team lost, it's like the points for one team doesn't really matter as much as the other. But both teams are at this point, if you want to move on or even have a chance to move on, you have to win. I go back to something Sean McCauley, the head coach of Indy 11, said last year. We want to bring home some form of silverware. Where you already lost in the Open Cup. You lost your first game of the USL Cup. So you either have to turn it all the way on for the rest of the Cup games to try to get that silverware, or you're focusing in on championship play. I want to win something. And getting out of the group stage last year was the closest we've been since getting to the semifinals of the Open Cup. So I think that's going to lead a lot to building this rivalry. It's going to be a close game. And the fact that both teams lost their first one, they have to get points. They're going to be desperate for points.
And Indy 11 will not want to have 2 losses, 3 technically,
3
to a lower league team.
Yeah.
They don't want to have a 4th now.
Yeah. Does Brett? We talked to you just before the Louisville match, Fort Wayne, Lou City, in the USL Cup, and we tried to bring home a win, and we tried to beat Lou City.
Valiant.
And so the effort Fort Wayne put out in that match, scoring the first goal, keeping it tight till the very end, and then letting a couple whatever goals go in. Did that prove anything or say anything about Fort Wayne and what they can bring to this competition?
I definitely think it shows intention, but I also think it shows Fort Wayne's identity. And I think if you watch any of their games, they score early. Almost every single week, they're scoring like early on when they score. If they're going to score, they're going to score early, and they did the same thing in Louisville City. And I think with cup competitions, yes, they're generally the same, but you really start to see the depth generally between these differences. And I think that's what ultimately won it out for Lou City. But that it means those first 30, 40 minutes, the intensity, the intent was 100% at the level it needed to be for Fort Wayne. And that's where I think Michael's point of how quickly we come out, because we've had history of doing the opposite, could become an issue. So they want to be there as soon as possible in front of their home crowd.
I will say that since that Louisville match, this is a different Fort Wayne team. It just seems like a different Fort Wayne team. Obviously, they've been playing at home, so that has to have something to do with it. But just the way they can play out of the back now. When you go back and watch that Louisville City match, like they're just under the gun all the time.
The whole game.
Sure, they scored in the first 7 minutes and then they let one and they're level, but they're just under pressure the entire time. And then by the time the 70th minute came and they let in the second goal and they're losing, things unraveled. But this is just, I don't know if this Fort Wayne team can have that happen again.
And they've made
It's a lot.
and they've made one change that essentially amounted to 2 changes in that back line, right? Since that Louisville game.
Mhm.
And that was Solis out as the left center back. He had Diaz playing right center back next to him. When he moved out, Diaz moved into his more natural left center back, and Reed Sproat moved into the right center back position. So it feels like that's a comfortable pairing between the two of them. And they're in their more natural positions, it seems like. So there's not as many gaps, and they're filling those. So it is a different back line, sort of.
Yeah.
But I wonder, to your point, Dustin, earlier about rotation, if Solis comes in that back line and I've got a reason for thinking that we'll talk about a little bit later, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. One thing I hear from the players we've talked to, the players we've interviewed, is how big the field is here in Fort Wayne at the Roo. They talked about, there's so much more running here than there is in other places. They said we have more space to move, we have more space to maneuver. And so I wonder, I know you guys have a large field there in Indy too, so that may not be as much of a factor, but it has been in our recent games.
Yeah, I definitely think that helps McCulley's kind of direct counter-attacking approach, because you got to let people like Rendon, and in this case now Niedlinger, Mensanbi, let them run and allow creatives like Jack Blake to pick up the pockets underneath those alleys. And I think having that large field suits their team, especially like on some of these smaller pitches that they've been to, especially like Brooklyn. That home opener, it was it's a baseball field. It's congested. That doesn't suit McCulley.
They like their baseball fields in New York, don't they?
I know. I think it's almost like a requirement, I think. And so you definitely notice the difference. From that game, Indy 11 has scored pretty much every game outside of that initial Brooklyn game. And I think you will see the same thing. Indy will score. And I think that extra space up top will be vital for them.
Yeah.
That is one of the things with Indy 11. It's very strange. From an offensive perspective, the wider field suits them better. But once you get to the defensive perspective, it's almost like the wider the field is, the less they know what to do. It feels like when we're on a tighter, smaller field, they are better communicating. There's just better play overall. And then as soon as we get to the wide field, there's runs coming in from all over the place. I said it a lot last year. We turn into a bowling alley where we're just open at all times. And that's the one thing that confuses me the most about soccer in general. Is like every other sport's like, this is the dimensions of the field. No more, no less. Soccer's like, is it square?
Yeah.
Or the goal line? Go play.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
I will think some of those lanes that you talk about, I think it doesn't help that we have kind of an aging midfield. I think it exposes our midfield the most. We try to be expressive. Because Jack Blake's, he's old. Cam Lindley, he ain't no spring chicken. And Aiden Quinn, if he's not playing left back now, you have
Aiden Quinn is still playing there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Legend.
He was
my word.
He was putting in good dead balls. When we were there at Detroit, the Detroit City match, he was on every single. He's like their specialist there, and he was
That's a blast from my past. Holy cow!
and he's crushing it. He's like basically our captain at this point when he's not playing midfield, who's also old. Then you have a little bit, sprint, some a little bit younger, Nokello, but he's still kind of proven himself. So we have a bit of a older and not super cohesive midfield, and I think that, to Michael's point, that's what gets stretched out. Is these older midfielders, and it's kind of one of those pros and cons. Do you want explosive offense, or do you want and trade-off is midfield's kind of shattered.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into some of these matchups a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit about the history of these teams real quick and build up this rivalry a little bit. Indy 11 has been around obviously longer than Fort Wayne FC, even in USL 2 days. And you guys have been building towards Major League Soccer, and then the rug got pulled out from under you, it sounded like a year or so ago. Talk about the history of Indy 11 and how the ups and downs through the city. And, Carlos, Emma, I know you guys have ties there too. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll start with, one, maybe Brett, Michael, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but 2013 is around the time frame of
NASL
to a championship. I don't.
Yes, because we
NASL.
celebrated the 10-year anniversary when all the shenanigans happened with the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we were already going to school at IUPUI, RIP IUPUI. It's no longer that.
Not ooey pooey anymore.
Ooey
No more
pooey's
ooey
gone.
pooey, just ooey and pooey.
Yeah. But they were pretty small, not very, I guess not very noticeable. I remember going to like a futsal match outside of the city, and like they had some of the players out there, and they were kind of like trying to advertise it and things like that. Until then, you kind of get a little bit more, I guess, traction with the people.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I don't think there was like as much like increase as it probably should have. There's probably kind of been a little bit of like it's a little stagnant. But when they announced the field that they were gonna like have a new stadium and everything, that was huge. Everyone got super excited, and then that slowed down. So it just been kind of up and down with Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's been one of those things where for those who've been around, I know Michael, you've been here a little bit more with me with the BYB, which came beforehand, before the club. It was the intention to support, soccer in Indianapolis, and we got the Indy 11 as a result. And you've seen the growth from playing. Yes, we started at the Mike, and then spending those few years at Lucas Oil, you could really see the potential of like how much the city can rally around. And even now, with all the stuff going on, I see billboards, I see the buses decked out in Indy 11, and there's a little bit more of a common knowledge of the club. For right or wrong reasons, there's a little bit more knowledge of it, and I think it's definitely grown to a point where it's almost on the par with the other minor league teams and other teams, especially you notice that on 317 day.
Yeah.
It's funny because, growing up, I wasn't a soccer guy. I stick to football, stick to basketball. But when I met my wife over 6 years ago, her and her dad had been season ticket members from day one of the club. And I had never heard of the club. And I lived 20 minutes outside of downtown. And I was downtown quite often. It's like I never saw anything about the club. And now it's like there's a billboard there. For the longest time last year, there was a building as you're heading back into Indianapolis from 465 that had the Indy 11 on it. It's like it's something that you continuing to build. And I think a lot of it is just soccer culture in the U.S. is continuing to grow, right? You're seeing more and more teams pop up. I mean, the USL just added Brooklyn and Jacksonville to the lineup, and they're still do what?
And Fort Wayne's an example of that growth too,
right? And they're about to add Iowa and Milwaukee at some point. It's like soccer culture in the U.S. is continuing to grow. It's continuing to reach people who, up until now, have just been supporting, European or teams over there. And it's like to see the rise of the sport is amazing. And when you continue to add more teams to it, it just continues to get better. And I think that all kind of culminated with a couple years ago when it was, we've been talking about this for 4 years. We're finally announcing where our stadium's going to be and how the stadium's going to be. And that generated the most excitement. And then everything happened, right? You find the bodies. The city's like, that's way too much money. Indy 11 ownership's like, but we want the stadium. And they're like, you're going to have to work with us. No, fine. We're going to go MLS. MLS is doing whatever it's doing. And it's like, you start to see everyone, that twinge of like, is this club even going to be around? And that was the whole statement of that year was like, we could get replaced. And it's the worst possible thing for U.S. soccer supporters, because it's like you have this team. You saw it San Diego. We've seen it with a couple of other cities like St. Louis who have come in and they've had this USL team. And they've been working as hard as they can. And all of a sudden, here comes the MLS. And it's like, you just lost supporters because you didn't do it the way it needs to be done. So I think the fact that people are still continuing to back the Indy 11, it just means something.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it was like noon that one day the mayor announced the funding was being pulled from the stadium project, and then at 2:00 there was an announcement that there was a European ownership group or an outside ownership group looking at bringing another team in. So I guess my question is, can Indy support Indy 11 and the Indianapolis Whitecaps?
Hoping that part doesn't happen. I'm hoping expansion. But if that were the thing to happen, I think the playbook would be Charlotte, because they're doing it, and Charlotte's about roughly on par side with Indianapolis, roughly, and MLS side, and then
and Charlotte's trying to do it. Charlotte's got a lot of teams, but they don't have as much support though either.
No, but
Chattanooga, not Charlotte. Chattanooga.
Oh yeah, Chattanooga. Yeah, and but I think for Indy 11, you have 10 years of history. This isn't like, and we have one of the highest average attendances in all of USL at like 9,000 average.
Nice.
Even if you get half of that, that is still respectable across like most of the league.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The question at that point would be ownership.
Yes.
Because for us, half the stadium being full, we've kind of been used to seeing it recently when the team has been struggling. Is that okay with ownership to just have that on par? I think there's enough support for soccer in general within the state to probably support two teams. Mm-hmm. The issue is going to be more timing of it all, right? Because we saw with the men's and the women's, year one of the women's and even year two when they won the championship, it was, oh my God, Grand Park is full. Good luck getting in, because the women are new and they're here. Mm-hmm. And then as they continue to play, regardless of how good they are, the numbers have fallen off. Mm-hmm. So the worry for me is less, is there enough people to support it? And it's more, is the current ownership of the club going to say, okay, we lost half of our fan base to MLS. Is it even worth continuing to rent out Michael A. Carroll? Is it worth it to continue creating jerseys and signing players? At what point do they say, we're done with soccer, we're just going to go back to buildings?
Yeah, and I'll add another layer to that too. One of the things that we really started to, the reason why we started our channel was because we just felt like there was like not enough visibility of like soccer, especially like USL, right? So say same owners, right? Are we going to start doing more advertisement, more marketing? What does that look like? Do we expand more? Obviously, that's going to be more cost. So, are we willing to take that cost to potentially get this thing, up and running? So that's the other layer of it, is the visibility.
Yeah.
I will say, just have this in the back pocket. There's always the possibility to the academy build out that Indy 11 has. That could be something that either at worst case it resorts to, or there's also, because I know their development at Grant Park, that's probably a massive plan B or C, because Westfield is very different fans who will get from that area than it would be for those who are going to MLS Stadium. It's more likely that would be downtown. So very different demographics, very different locations, and very different crowds targeted.
Yeah. I think, quite frankly, if the team does move to Westfield, that is the solution, right? If we do get an MLS team, you're not worried about competing with another team within your own city. Now you have Indianapolis, Westfield, and Fort Wayne all in one area that you can start doing more fan stuff with.
Dude, that would be so great. Just to have a rivalry, honestly, a true rivalry in state between Indianapolis and Fort Wayne, if Pro Rail ends up happening and we get in the same league, the same division. Because right now, it's like the closest for us is Forward Madison, right? So there's no Burn Shipman played for them for 3 years. That's one connection, and we've heard things and their loud jerseys and but there's no real rivalry yet. And I don't think they played their first home game, I think, this weekend. Is that right? But anyway, so there's no real rivalry there. So I'd love to see whether MLS comes. I was kind of sort of joking about that, but it's interesting that conversation went that long, because I was like, this is a real thing in Indianapolis that people are talking about. Yeah. And to see where that goes and where Indy 11 goes. Let's talk for a little bit about the history of Fort Wayne for a minute, for those in Indy who may not know the whole story there. Started in, there was talk in 2019, I believe it was rumored it was happening, was planning to start in 2020. I remember the Fort Wayne FC jerseys with the number 20 on the back.
Yep.
Because that's the year they were starting. And then they didn't play their first game until 2021 because
For
of
obvious
COVID.
reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I remember my son walked out with his futsal team at one of their first games, walking out with the players. I remember a kid that I knew when he was in middle school that was playing for them for the first time. He had just graduated. He was in college. And so I remember the early days of Fort Wayne FC and didn't feel like, I mean, there was momentum. Like there was like, this is cool. We have a soccer team, but nobody really knew what the potential was or where it was going. It was just something new that people would come out to. And then you started seeing attendance kind of drop off because it wasn't new and fresh anymore. And who were we playing? Like I remember a friendly with, was it Chivas came to town first? Yeah.
Yep.
And then they played a friendly with FC Cincinnati too. And then they were playing all these teams we didn't know. Like it was just, it was odd. Like it was exciting, but it's not something that drew me to the games over and over in those early days. Dustin, Emrah, you guys are up here. Your experience with Fort Wayne FC in those early days, or was there any?
So we were just talking about this last week when we had the first home game in Rue. We were at the first game at Bishop Dwenger Stadium for Fort Wayne FC. So I've been around since the beginning. I will say, when it first came out, I was like, I don't know that Fort Wayne's going to support this kind of a team within the city. I didn't feel that. I didn't know. There was no excitement around it. There wasn't a whole bunch of, momentum going into it in any way, shape, or form, like you said, Brian. And then as they started to do well, as word started to get out, as more and more clubs from a youth perspective started to promote it and started to talk about the team, I feel like it started to gain momentum. It started to get better. Then they moved to Bishop Darcy Stadium, and that improved it a little bit more. And then just over the last, I would say 2 years, I've seen it just continue. And I don't know what to attribute that to. I mean, again, they were doing really well. They won the division, 3 years in a row, huge deal. But at first I honestly was like, this is really cool, but I think it's going to last barely enough. We got DeMarcus Beasley behind it, but that's about all I was seeing from that. And so to be where we are now, I'm blown away. The fact that we have a stadium, the fact that we're playing in a professional league, it's crazy. Because again, I was there first game, watched the first game, and I was just like, this is really cool, but I don't see this going anywhere from here. And I'm eating my words now. So
yeah.
I would say my first memory was actually going to that Chivas friendly. I distinctly remember I went with some of my Mexican friends, and they were Chivas fans. So like they went because like they're like, oh, Chivas is coming to town. Like that's like just a weird thing to think about that's going to come into middle America, small town USA, and then like Guadalajara Chivas comes and plays your team that's it's not a professional.
Why do they have 3 numbers on the back of their jersey?
So many times in my life.
127. Yeah. Remember his name. And then moving forward after that, it really did feel like it was an ebb and flow of like, oh yeah, they're they exist and there's games happening. And then finally, when there was the announcement of oh, we're going to actually have the stadium, we're going to break ground, and my early memory pre Fort Wayne FC would be going to like a DeMarcus Beasley like camp.
I was going to say
Beasley camp, and like his brother was there, and usually DeMarcus was maybe overseas playing somewhere. Obviously, Chuka, I think he was in Mexico at the time. But that was probably my earliest memory of like soccer in Fort Wayne being like in its nascency and its infancy, and now seeing what it's become with this stadium is just incredible. The fact that there's professional players, this is how they make their living, that they go out and they play and they wear Fort Wayne FC with pride, and you support them as best you can.
I definitely think the physical infrastructure of stadiums is one of the things that gets people's attention. There's serious intention. I have in-laws in Fort Wayne. They were talking to me about the stadium, and I know they're not soccer fans. I had people at work who I know aren't soccer fans talking about Indy 11 stadium. What is all that stuff? infrastructure means intention, regardless if people are on the field or not. It
Yeah.
means intention. I think that speaks volumes. And I think to your point, and but it's the points that we've talked about today. I think that kind of culminates into that idea.
Yeah. I think that people are still driving by in Fort Wayne going, when are they going to start playing in that stadium? They've had 3 games there. They're playing in that already. So I think that's part of it. But I think you're right, Brett. I think that gets people's attention. The talk of the stadium, seeing it actually being erected. Yeah. It's like 20 yards from the highway. Like it is literally right on I-69. You can't miss it as you drive by. But I think there were a couple other things, a couple other factors at play too with new ownership. When Mark Music came in and took over ownership a few years ago, there was more marketing put into the team. But I think USL as a whole, I've started to hear more and more and more marketing from the league as they've continued to grow. And I think that's been a big part of it as well. As primarily an MLS guy myself until the recent years here in Fort Wayne, like I didn't know much about USL except when Cincinnati played there, and then they left, and I paid no attention to it anymore. But now, I'm like, there's 144 teams in USL League 2, and there's teams in USL League 1 that are here until they're not 2 weeks before the season, and there was teams last year that I didn't even know about that don't exist now. Like it's just it's crazy the ebb and flow of USL, but it just the growth of soccer in general at this level is incredible. And I think Fort Wayne's hitting it just the right time with a new stadium, with new ownership, with a team that's put out a really successful product in recent years. And so we hope to see that continue on for sure.
Yeah. I will also say for Fort Wayne, they also had lost a few. They lost the G League team to
Mad Ants.
The Mad Ants, yeah, and that caused maybe a little bit of a sports vacuum. And Fort Wayne, as you point, might have perfectly timed it up to be like, hey, lost the Mad Ants.
Yeah,
join us.
Have you guys been to a Mad Ants game?
I'm pretty sure they are.
I went to a Mad Ants game like 7 years ago.
I think I saw you there. I think I saw you there because there was like only 4 other people.
Yeah,
there weren't that many people there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it also comes down to the fact that, like, once the USL announced, not only are they going to have their Division 1, which they took 700 years to announce what the name actually was going to be.
Yeah.
And then they announced, not only are we adding USL Premier League, we're adding promotion relegation.
Yeah.
I think that got a lot of people interested because most US soccer fans at some point watch European soccer, right? They see how important it is to the not just the teams, but the fans over there that their clubs stay competitive so they don't get relegated down to another league and lose money. Right. You see it with Wrexham, and I
was just going to say
everything. It's like they have 5 seasons of TV shows now. They've gotten back to back promotions. They almost made the playoff to make it to the Premier League. And you see how much that matters to a team. So when, as a city like Fort Wayne or Indy or any of these teams or any of these cities that have a team, fans are like, oh, they're doing promotion relegation. Well, I see that in Europe.
Yep.
And that's a lot of fun. It starts getting them invested in soccer here. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And you always say no pub or all pub is good pub, even if it's bad. I think with the whole USLPA negotiations that have been going on here, that shed a lot of light on it too. Because up until those 2 things, I had never once gotten a notification from ESPN that anything in the USL is ever happening.
Yeah, true.
But I got the notification USL announces promotion relegation, and USLPA has officially signed a deal. It's like those are big things, and it's shining a light on the sport. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of League 2 teams jumping up to League 1, and a lot of teams just popping up because it's like there's enough support in this city for a team to go the distance.
Yeah. And we were talking about this today, actually. If they as USL, if USL can execute this properly with the Premier and the with the relegation and promotion, like they're gonna be really solid, and they're even gonna be competitive to the MLS. What that looks like, I don't think anyone really knows. It could be a multitude of things, but I mean, there's more at stake for the teams. They're gonna take it more seriously.
Right.
People are gonna be more interested. So it's just.
I really hope it works because the biggest fear that I've had since they say, hey, we're doing promotion relegation is a club that starts in the championship, drops down to League One. All of a sudden, they don't have enough money, and they got to fold. That's the last thing you want to see as a club as a group doing pro rel, and all of a sudden you're losing teams left and right because they drop to the next level and all of the money's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I will say, obviously there's a lot of concerns, but I think there's a bit more also that optimism, because I think Fort Wayne does one of the models that I love, which is League Two established themselves, and you saw it with Knoxville. You've seen it supposed to happen with Sporting Cascades and Lane United. You have that model where you start in League Two, and then you work your way up. And I think if you see more of that success, and you're starting to see like, oh, hey, Fort Wayne, they're now in the Premier League. Or you can be like, oh, hey, because I know a bunch of League Two teams who will be willing to make that jump.
Yeah.
Like in the spot, you can tell it in the intention. I always say with the kids, people who pay attention to that stuff have some sort of intention to do more than what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think with all of that hype, it's not just getting cities that would never have a sports team, but it's showing that any club of any size can dream bigger. And I think that's the important thing.
And I think some of that has come. I think we'll see more of it with the change at the top in USL when the Papadakis family kind of had their hands on everything, and now there's a lot of private investors. I think they're looking at cities who have owners that have the ability to have a team and sustain a team, and not just, hey, we want to start a team, we'll take the money, we'll get you started, and then you're on your own kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which, and I don't have a lot of history with USL, but it seems that has been the case in recent years. Teams pop up, they fizzle out. Teams that have been around 10 years in South Georgia, Tormenta, that can't sustain. And so looking for ownership groups that can sustain this, that do have ambition, that can push forward and have, like you said, a proven track record in maybe USL 2. We're going to do this. We're going to bring in these players. We're going to be successful, and we're going to build something moving forward. So I do think Fort Wayne has that kind of backing, no doubt, with the Beasley name and Mark Music behind it, that they will sustain this wherever it goes, if it's championship, if it's Premier League. But I'm just excited to be part of the ride here in these early days.
Can I ask you a question?
FC. Yeah.
Can I throw a question out there? I just wanted to ask you guys from Indy, as we're talking about like getting out there, getting your name out there, and marketing as far as that's concerned. When I think of Fort Wayne, and I think of how the team has involved the community over the last few years, how they've been there, how they've gone out, they've done things. That's been huge marketing for people. That's brought the people that are not soccer fans to the club to watch the games. And I think that's huge when it comes down to getting your face in front of the community and getting your face out there. Is that something that you see, or you continue to see, or you saw at the beginning with Indy 11? Because I think that atmosphere, that culture creates, it explodes. It makes people come out to those games.
I give credit in two ways. I think the youth academy, especially specifically Grand Park, the suburbs are a massive prime market for soccer fans initially and their families. So if you get the kids in, you will be able to even have them tell their fans, their friends, and all that stuff. But I also credit to not the club in the Brickyard Battalion. When it started in its infancy, it was, and it still is, massive in terms of, it's one of the larger supporter groups, one of the most recognizable supporter groups, and easily like one of the easiest to market because of the passion that they just showed, which means even just a casual who's showing up saying, hey, they're having fun and now I'm having fun. Yeah. It slowly builds from just being there. And the BYB does even more stuff, like they have their whole thing. And I think those two combined show that this wasn't just like some Pacers game or some, some minor league baseball product. This was something a little bit more grassroots and something that's a little bit more like, it's different.
You guys talked about bringing a team up from Guadalupe to play there at Fort Wayne. It's like Indy had something kind of similar to that back when we were at Lucas. We brought Chelsea over to play. And it's like, we've not done anything like that since. It's like, to me, you're seeing other, like Louisville's had 700 different European teams in their stadium in the past like 4 years. Whether it's doing a friendly with Louisville or just playing in their stadium.
Mhm.
To me, if you're truly going to rebuild what Indy 11 was in its infancy as it grew through the nasal,
Yeah.
you got to start doing that again. You got to start
Mhm.
bringing big soccer to Indy, whether that's at the mic, probably not,
No.
or if you take over Lucas Oil, the big, like, I don't remember correctly if it was or not, but when they brought Chelsea in, Indy 11 was on like the books and stuff for that game. They're like, hey, this is a team we have. If you're interested in this game, come see our team. And that drew interest.
Mhm.
Now you just see they play at IU Indy's soccer field. It's like,
Yeah.
to draw interest, you have to bring in the crowd who doesn't know who you are. And
Yeah.
I think the way to do that is continue to bring big teams in.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. If they announced that there was, another, maybe like a Manchester United or whatever, like another team that, is a big name, and they brought that in, for a fact people are going to start looking into it. And
My petition, bring in Wrexham to Lucas Oil.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the thing, though, you have to have, for a lot of those teams, they'll play on grass fields. So you have to have grass somewhere
Yeah,
to
that's
do
true.
that.
But we've seen all the NFL stadiums, because, we can't use soccer stadiums for the World Cup.
Pre-World Cup.
Right. Right.
We see all those NFL stadiums pulling out their turf and putting down grass. So, like, it's not that hard to do.
Yeah. It is for the World Cup, and they are charging millions of dollars to go.
I was going to say,
see it.
Prices dropped. Prices dropped today. I saw it come through. Prices
Okay.
dropped drastically.
Yeah.
5 cents.
He already bought his tickets.
Oh.
I'll be in LA watching Bosnia beat Switzerland.
Yeah. No, I bought tickets to the Club World Cup to see Dortmund play the Sundowns, and
Cincinnati.
like two weeks before the game, a friend of mine bought tickets lower level, half the price that I paid for the upper level. And I was like, come on.
Talking about the Club World Cup, another thing that was massive, at least for the Indy 11, was 2 years ago when they made the semifinal for the Open Cup. And it was like, if you win this game and you're going to the final, you have a spot in that, because the other team was LAFC or LA Galaxy, one of the two.
Yeah.
And they had already locked in a spot because of their play in the MLS. So it's like, you get to the championship, not only are you on the national stage because of the Open Cup, now you're on the global stage because of the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Well, I believe if you win the US Open Cup, you get a spot in CONCACAF. as well.
Champions Cup.
Yes.
So you could have a USL championship team, USL 1 team.
Yep.
Go and play.
Will we ever see that?
I hope so.
I hope so.
I think
huge syndrome.
I think there's enough quality in the USL at this moment that it could be done.
Yeah.
The issue is you have to have a team who is all in on the Open Cup. It can't be, we're more worried about the championship. It's no, we want to go win because we want to do this.
Yeah, and to your point, I think Sacramento Republic was a great example of that. Because not only did they take it seriously, I think they got a massive following from that, specifically in their attempt to go to MLS. And now their massive stadium that they're building, with or without MLS, it's only a 20,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
Without needing to go to MLS.
Yeah.
And I think that's built on some of that success and some of that, hype that's come along with winning.
Yeah. Well, guys, we've had a great conversation. I would love to continue this, but I want to get to this matchup, the specifics of this game with Indy 11 coming to Fort Wayne to play at the Roo. Who are the players to watch, and what are the matchups that you're most looking forward to seeing on the field?
Bruno Rendon.
Yeah.
Start with that one.
Okay.
He's lethal.
Okay.
He's dangerous.
Okay. Give us a little more. Tell us more.
So, what's he like? Number one, number two champion striker right now, or in goals?
He's definitely up there.
Something like that,
yeah. So he's lethal. He's gonna find that net. So Fort Wayne's defense got to be ready with him. Jack Blake, I think he's dangerous too. I don't know. He just not only can he control the midfield, but he can score too.
All-time lead goal scorer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those two are going to be big ones to look at for sure.
My biggest is Minsanti. I think he is that X factor. Everyone's going to focus on Rendon, rightfully so. but now you're going to have two of them running at you for 90 minutes. I don't know if Fort Wayne's defense has been tested to that ability, especially with Rendon and Mansambi, who's, I think, a budding superstar in the USL level. I think McCulley's shown that confidence in him is just building it more and more week after week after week. And I think that pairing, I hope their legs are tied up all ready, because they're going to do a lot of running that defense.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I feel like it's the same with Fort Wayne FC. Like you said, you've got those two guys to look for. You've got Teg and you've got Rico.
I'm scared because our back is gold.
Yeah, but you just think about that. Like you were talking about, like you put all your efforts towards one of those guys that leaves the other guy open. Same thing. It happened this last game. You put all of that effort towards Rico, then you've got Tay Healy that's out over there ready to score as well.
Yeah,
and vice versa. And so it's like, when you say that, it's like, I feel like a mirror of what we see for Fort Wayne FC. So
I agree.
that will be super interesting to watch how that plays out.
It's going to be a 4-4 game. I'm already calling it right now. All the goals.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, when Fort Wayne played in Louisville, was it Akale? What was the little forward that is so fast? I forget his last name. But he
tested like no other.
Yeah, he caused havoc himself.
Yeah.
Just chasing down balls in the back because they were playing him so slow. So to have two guys pressing that way, I think will be a challenge. Although Fort Wayne has been playing better out of the back. They've been handling the pressure a little bit better. My question, to your point earlier, Dustin, I wanted to come back to is, will we see Solis in this match at 6'8" center back playing against an Indy 11 team that is pretty good with set pieces? Goals coming off corners, set pieces. Will we see a guy with that size to help defend?
I feel like it's a trade-off, because you just talked about those two guys that are fast, that are putting pressure on there. I like Solis. I love Solis. I think Solis sometimes is slower to get to where he needs to be. So does that bode well to that versus the set pieces? That's a hard choice to make. I'm glad I don't have to make it. But I think, 6'9" set piece, absolutely, you want somebody like that.
You don't have your regularly scheduled Friday call with Coach Avery?
I don't, unfortunately. Because of this tonight, it took over my call. But no, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Like, you want that tall guy in there for set pieces, but like when it comes to speed, I don't think he's the right guy when it comes to speed. That's just my own.
I can see him being brought on later if they're the lead. If Fort Wayne FC has the lead, and then all Indy 11 is going to do is just put the ball in the box.
Yeah.
You got to get the ball into the box.
Yeah.
You got to do something. And then, Coach Avery is just going to be like, look over there, be like, okay, we're going to just bring this
6'9".
guy. And we're going to try to handle it like that. But him starting, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm concerned with our center back pairing, because Paco Craig is a little bit older. He's a legend. He's solid, but I think he's played more minutes than he probably anticipated this season because we lost Pat Hogan in the preseason.
No, sorry, you froze. I wasn't sure if you were done. Keep talking.
Yeah, and I feel like he has played more than minutes than he should. He's an older man, and I think you expected more from Barry and Herbert as your solid backups. Herbert's now our starter, and then we also lost Hayden White due to his injury for the season. And now we have a young right back. And I think it's that point, what's the trade-off? Do you want to have some of that either experience, but do you also want fresh legs? And I think that is the important question, because Indy's back line has been leaky. And Paco Craig started every match.
I think Rempel is going to be I think he's going to be starting, because he's going to be he's so patient. I was watching him in the last game. I think he just I don't know, something about him just makes me feel so comfortable if I had him on my team. He's waiting for them to make that move, and then he strikes. And then as a defender, if you strike too early and you miss the ball, you're stuck. So for these guys that are fast, I think Rempel is going to be critical.
Yeah. One name we haven't even brought up, he won't be playing, is James Musa, that played with you guys last year and was an Iron Man. Played, I think, more minutes than anybody on the team, maybe in the league last year. My understanding is up here dealing with an Achilles injury, so he's not even playing. I actually tried to get him on the show tonight. Couldn't get that worked out. I thought that would be a fun tie-in, but so there's that. But we talk about Fort Wayne not playing. Dustin, you were like, there's no way they're rolling out their second string guys. They've got to be. They kind of already are. Like they're playing with guys that we had Ryan Betcher that had been starting that has a hip issue right now. Jack Thomas, who had been starting, who is not playing because of a knee issue. And so we have guys that we could. I think they're both getting back to playing form. Jack, I think maybe is closer. I don't know. But we may see these guys take the field late in a game on a minutes restriction, maybe, and you're pulling a guy potentially like Tag Healy off, and you got a guy like Jack Thomas who scored 20 goals last year in NAIA soccer that is just as dangerous coming out on the field. So I think the attack is going to be dangerous. There might be a lot of goals in this one, like you said, Brett. We'll see how that pans out. But I know we're at the 10 o'clock hour. I appreciate you guys' time. Any final thoughts on this match or final predictions before kickoff tomorrow night?
One player I'm excited to watch in this one is Logan Neidlinger. He's not a guy who gets a lot of attention. I know he signed a major contract 2 years ago with us, and he's kind of been rotating in and out, but it's not until he actually plays that I forget how good he is. Like, he had 3 or 4 chances at goal last week. That's like, he's gonna score one, and to have a guy that young and that quick on your team and have that intelligence about him too, that's something I'm excited for. As far as this game goes, it's the same conversation I have on my show all the time. It's like, what version of Indy 11 shows up, right? Is this the team that goes out and beats Monterey Bay 3-1, or is this the team that lost to Union Omaha twice 2-1?
Right.
You know, we have a thing with Indy. It's like we play to our competition, and sometimes that's a great thing. Sometimes that's a horrible thing, because we could look at a League One team and say, okay, the League One, we don't need to go all out. And then all of a sudden we show up and League One comes in and they just dominate all the way because Indy's coming in expecting a smaller game. And that's the thing I worry about the most. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't know that it's going to have a lot of goals in it, just because Indy's had some struggles getting some higher numbers up. But it's going to be a tight one. It really is. I wouldn't be shocked if this goes to pins.
Yeah, because that's right. If it's a draw at the end of regulation, it goes straight to pins.
Immediately
Correct.
to pins, and then it's winner takes 2, loser takes 1.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to the midfield. I know we've talked about, the attackers, the defenders. I think whichever midfield can do the most to control, I think what would be a chaos game will do best, because you have JP Jordan, who's pretty solid. I like him in the midfield for Fort Wayne. But then you have, like I mentioned, the veterans that is the Indy 11 midfield. Which one can take the most control and dictate how they want to play? Because I know Indy's on a counterattack, and which one can actually play the way that they want to and do it effectively, I think it wins this game.
Yeah.
I think if it's gonna come down to midfield, from what you're saying, from what I'm seeing from Fort Wayne, then I think it goes in Fort Wayne's favor. That's my personal opinion, because we've got a strong midfield. We've got Rempel, we've got JP Jordan, we've got the guys that are controlling the midfield for the last few games. I think if it comes down to midfield, I think that's a Fort Wayne benefit in relationship to that. I think it's going to be a close game as well. I don't think it's going to be something that's like a blowout in any way, shape, or form. I'm excited about the atmosphere because people have been wanting to see this game all year, and so I'm pumped about that. I'm excited that it's in Fort Wayne, and so I think coming back on Monday, and if listening to people talk about this game is going to be really exciting and interesting to hear. And so I don't want to give my predictions because I've been held to those before. So
he's bouncing again. Boo, yeah.
I will say that I think it's whoever creates the most chances, because I think both teams, like, you give a chance to Ricole, he's going to score. You give a chance to Rendon, he's going to score. So you have to create the chances for your guys that are scoring goals in the league to score goals in the cup as well. It'll probably be cagey a little bit at the beginning, and then it'll probably settle down, and you can see probably one team assert dominance a little bit more in terms of possession. But it's just going to be whoever can create more chances. I think the chances are going to get scored regardless.
The only thing I have against that, as we've seen every single week, Indy 11 is not a possession team. They are not. We're gonna play the long ball up to Bruno, and he's either gonna take it in himself or he's gonna cross it into the box, and then it's back on defense. So it definitely is who's not only going to make the most chances, but who's going to take advantage of them, right?
Yes,
we can make chances all day long. We did that a lot last year. It didn't really amount to anything. If you're wasting chances, you can kiss this one goodbye.
Yeah. Carlos, any thoughts, predictions?
Oh, man. I really like what Michael was saying earlier. Indy really does have to, like, if Indy comes into this and thinks, oh, it's just a USL 1 team, like they're not going to do so hot. But I think if I was Indy 11, I would take Fort Wayne seriously. I've watched both teams. Both teams are really good. So if Indy 11 comes in hot and heavy and like they take it very seriously, they're going to do well. I think they are going to win. But if they don't take it seriously, and not even if just they do or don't, like Fort Wayne's still coming in really like with the being undefeated at home, and if they're coming in intentional, they're gonna do great too. So I know that wasn't really an answer.
I like it.
Well, I'll give you the answer right after we give you some of these predictions. 3-1 Fort Wayne, says Anthony and Zini in the chat. We've got Jason in the chat, 3-2 Fort Wayne. We got a lot of Fort Wayne viewers tonight. I get that on our channel. So we have 3 clean sheets by Byrne, 2-1 Fort Wayne. I think back to our question, how does this become a real rivalry?
Yeah.
A game that's physical, knock down, drag out, ends 2-2, and goes to penalties. That's my prediction. That 2-2 finish in pens, and we're gonna see which goalkeeper can bring it home. Because that's how you start a rivalry. That's how it happens.
That's true.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, that happens. It's a rivalry.
I was thinking about like a final all day. I'm like, what is the final of this game? And I landed on 2-2 with 7-6 in pins. That was where I landed. I didn't have a winner of it. I just said, okay, it's going to be 2-2. It's going to be good. And then I think it's going to take till that 7th pin for one of the keepers to step up. And I hope it's Eric Dick, because obviously that's a win for Indy. But to get that far in a game, I think that it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. I'll take the 2-2, but I'll raise you 10-9 penalty.
Oh my!
Okay. We're not going second round, like 11 pens, 12 pens.
We ended at 10.
We're getting close.
Right?
Yeah, Chipman scoring the last one. The one who scores 10 goals is the winner.
I make it 11-10 and make the goalkeeper the last one to score.
I just hope it's at the goal where Three Rivers Regiment is
in front of the house.
Yeah.
I've noticed that it seems like, I don't know if they're winning the coin flip with the referee, but it seems like Fort Wayne always wants to start attacking on the opposite end. That way they finish the match facing the supporters. I don't know if that's how they plan it or it just so happens to be like that.
Yeah.
And if it's like it was last year for us, they'll put the PKs in front of the supporters section.
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm at. I'm in. I want that. I want a 2-2. Let's do this.
You know what? Even better than a 2-2. I want like a 90th minute equalizer. Indy 11's have been awful at doing that, and we've not held clean sheets.
That would do it.
It'll be 2-1 until at the 90th minute 2-2. I just already know it. I already know what's going to happen because Indy is awful at closing out matches. We've only done it like twice all season, and we got lucky on both of them.
Yeah.
So, saying
that would do it. That would do it. This game just went from this is fun to interstate teams rivalry. To something that really means something at the end of that match. So,
and if it happens the way that Brett just said, point the one PK in favor of Fort Wayne because that's just killer for a team, and that's so enthralling for a fan base. We saw it last year in the Cup where we got eliminated by Greenville. It was 2-1, and then they scored in the 90 plus 800th minute. It was like, great, now we're going to PKs, and it just took all of the air out of the fan base.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, guys, thank you for joining us tonight for Fort Wayne Footy and One Touch Soccer and Cue the Smoke and Kit Season from USL Show. We appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on Saturday night.
See you guys Saturday.
Take care, guys.
See ya.